Oh, I got this new background. And welcome everybody to our Ask Glenn Questions show. And let's see. First off, thanks Tony for joining us. Welcome.
Hey man, glad to be here.
And let's see, you're driving, so we got about maybe half hour ish or something, and then you're going to someplace. If you want to tell us about that, feel free. But otherwise, thanks everybody for joining us. And sorry for last week. I had plans that happened at the last minute, and I didn't take time to post anything to let people know we weren't going to be here. So I apologize to everybody about that one. But I got my cool Matrix background going on in the background. We'll see if anybody joins us live today. Oh, Patriot's already out there, and Christmas 740. Right on. I don't see the comments on this system until we actually go live, so I didn't know if anybody was out there. So thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, Tony, you said we were chatting there a bit about something. Did you say you've seen this on Instagram, or this is somebody you know, or?
No. Okay, so I was watching YouTube videos, and in one of those suggestions, it was a video of an instructor out of Arizona talking about using the rare breed forced reset trigger for home defense. Now, if you don't know what it is, it simulates full auto fire. It's like almost a bump trigger, if it were, and it's pretty dang fast. I'm talking. It's faster than the Tommy gun by a good round per minute. It's probably double because I've shot one beside a Tommy gun and Tommy gun got smoked. So it's pretty much simulated for auto fire. And he talked about it's a good idea for home defense because what if you have to shoot two home invaders coming down your hallway? This will really do the job. And I was waiting for the punchline or something. And no, he was 100% serious, and I just couldn't figure out how it's to an advantage. And, I was just talking about bringing it up on the other podcast I do, which is two trainers and myself, what is it called? Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered. Because last night we recorded and we talked about training and outdated uh, trainers. The stuff they're teaching is just outdated, and this is something else we can bring up. But yeah, I was talking to you about it because I wanted to get your, idea about what this guy said.
So let's clarify. Well, first off, I don't think it's crazy that somebody would stand on that position as a trainer. So usually I think of a trainer as somebody who's offering instruction on more than like CCW or something. Otherwise, I would call them, I don't know, a CCW instructor or something. But to put a finer point on it, because full auto is actually a machine that's designed to either be full auto only or full auto and semi-auto as a select fire, or sometimes full auto. No, actually never. Like it's used sometimes semi-auto and 3-round burst. They'll still call that full auto. But let's get rid of 3-round burst because that's barely any guns and it's not that great. So when we're talking full auto, it's either full auto or select fire, or that's it. So when you're shooting full auto, the reason I bring that up is because when you're shooting a machine that's designed to be full auto, you pull the trigger, it's shooting, and when you stop pulling the trigger, it stops shooting. And that's different than, the bump stock, I guess it'll stop firing when you stop pulling the trigger. It's not like it's going to walk away from you, but you are getting into like a cadence. You're getting into kind of a rocking-ish. I mean, it's not exaggerated, but you're getting into like this motion with the gun to shoot a bump stock. But with these triggers you're talking about, first I got to clarify because there's like 3 of them, I think. And the one you're talking about is you pull the trigger, it goes off. You let go of the trigger and it goes off, and then you pull the trigger and it goes off, but it has no reason to. Okay, I'm thinking of a different one.
Yep, you're thinking of a different one. When you pull the trigger, it goes off. And again, you just pull the trigger, you don't hold it back, and it forces your finger forward, but you still put a slight pressure on it and you pull the trigger again. So you're pulling the trigger each time of your own accord. It's just resetting your finger.
Oh, it's
It's
almost like
pushing
there's a
your finger
spring in
forward.
there, pushing your finger forward to assist you with pulling it fast as you can.
Yeah, so instead of shooting to the reset, ping, 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 and hit shooting to the reset, it pushes your finger out and you pull it back. But you're doing it quickly because you're putting a slight pressure on it, but you're not holding it there. I've shot it. I've shot them a couple of times. They're fun range guns. And here's the cool part: the longer your gas system, the faster your rate of fire, significantly.
Interesting. So, but I guess to clarify then again, when you let go of this thing, it's not firing another round.
Nope.
Okay. Because that one I'm thinking of, when you let go, it fires another round. And that would be, I couldn't imagine why you would think you'd want to do that for anything other than recreation. But
Hmm.
so what you're talking about is essentially a thing that lets you bump fire it off the sear, or is it just fiddling? It's like rubbing the sear instead of the full trigger pull.
I really don't know the specifics because it wasn't mine. Now, I followed the guy that invented it because he's a lawyer that's also a gun dude, and his whole point was to actually have the ATF shut him down so he could sue them. Like that was the number one reason he created. Number two was because it's a cool gadget, it'll probably sell well. But the number one thing was he was hunting for a lawsuit against the ATF. He went into it like that. So no, I don't know the specifics of it. You can look it up because ATF, made him stop, get a cease and desist, yada yada, and he's been whipping their ass in every court case because he knows where it's going to go. I mean, he walked into it with that goal in mind. So,
Oh, okay. So I haven't been paying attention to that. It's the force reset trigger, though. That's the name of it.
force
But
reset trigger with a lawsuit, rare breed.
okay. Now it's legal now, or is it some kind of weird gray?
I think it. Yeah, I think it might be. I forgot what the heck the last one was, but I think they won the last one because for a while, because I had two of my guys that had them. One had them on a rifle link system, and the other one had it on a carbine link system, and there was a totally different uh, rate of fire with it. Have no idea why, but I'm just sitting there, and it was because it's the trigger. I don't know what made a difference with the gas system. Maybe it's faster on the longer. I don't know. But I shot it both against, and because we lined up with 30 round magazines. We were in Freedom Land. We were in Pennsylvania. And at that range, they had MP5. I fired the MP5 versus the rare breed and got smoked. And that's a full auto MP5 firing nine. And then I fired against the Tommy gun. And again, I had the Tommy gun and got smoked again.
Yeah, the Thompson is definitely a slow one. I mean, that's why people could write their names with it and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's not really a fair one. Like a Sten would be a really fast one. There's some others that are pretty. Oh, like a Mac or something. Those like burp out the ammo. But it's all about the springs and the dwell and the cycle, right? Like how big, how long the thing is. So basically, I'm looking at a video, and it looks like I would call it like rubbing the sear, like a full trigger pull on a regular gun. You have to like move it maybe an inch or something. With this one, it drops it down to like a quarter inch, so that you can kind of wiggle the sear or the thing that stops the semi-auto from just going full auto. Oh, Tony must have jumped out. He's driving, so he might be underneath the bridge or something. Oh, wish we just audio
Sorry,
could
for
again.
some
Yeah,
reason it cut off.
I figured you went underneath the bridge. Here we always have we don't have bridges so much as we go under. For some reason, we go under roads. But anyway, I was just watching a thing, and it looked like it changed the trigger length of pull to really short. I call that like rubbing the sear, to where it's.
Hmm.
I've seen guns where you can kind of do that by just holding your finger, it's really strong and just being able to shoot really fast. But anyway, it does shoot super fast. And just the video I watched here on from their, I think it's their video, showed just how quick it can drop a mag. But anyway, it's so it's not something I don't know what to call it, like cumbersome or complicated as far as like whatever that other one I was talking about. Because I like I say, I've seen one where you let go and it shoots, and that would I would think would be not recommended. So something that just lets it go really fast, I'm not as adamantly against it, but I don't think it's, you know, ideal. Um, Even if somebody was super trained and stuff, my concern would be like, you're really good and you know what's going on, but if what if there's other people in the world? You expect them to be able to use your equipment, tuning it to where it's different but looks the same isn't smart always, right? It's not. It's just too asking for trouble in a store in the extremes. But even in those normal circumstances, you're picking up your own machine, your own tool, and you know how to use it and all that. What if you get knocked in the head? Like, does that reset you back to everything's normal, or like you're gonna you can't assume you're gonna just be good to go in an extreme situation. So I just see it as a handicap. I see it as an unnecessary handicap. For the only thing I could think of was April Fools or just clicks. Trying to say something that would get them, like what we're doing right now, talking about him. Except we're not talking about who it is, so it doesn't matter. He's not winning that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
it
the
doesn't
good
sound like
guy had.
you said it was 11 minutes. That's not like, hey, I'm just going to throw something out there to get clicks. That's usually like a minute or 2 or 3 minutes at the most.
Yeah, yeah. So he came up with, and it's amazing because I'm looking at it going, okay, maybe he did this just for attention. So I clicked on another one of his videos, which I mean, if that was his goal, he got it. I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? And I just want to know if he's giving good advice or if he's giving horrible advice and falling back on, I was in law enforcement. I don't even know if he was. I think he said that in that video. Well, his very next video that I saw was, do you need body armor for home defense? And his answer to that was yes. And I was like, all right, that's 19 minutes. I might watch that one day, but I'm not doing it on this trip. I'd rather be on this show talking to you. But I'm like, this guy has some ideas I don't agree with. How's that for me trying to get into the kingdom of heaven? Um, yeah, that's me being nice. Yeah, these ideas I don't agree with. Is it good to have body armor? Heck yeah, because you never know what you get into. But understand, his advice only makes sense if you never think further, deeper into it. If you never ask a second question or even the first question, then yeah, it's like interesting. For me, the force reset trigger is a fun range toy, and the only real world application I would think, and this is only because I've watched YouTubers talk that this was a little hot topic about having somebody be your saw gunner in your militia, your civilian militia, having like a heavy barreled AR that was full auto. And with this particular piece of gear, if you're going to be specialized in the light gunner in your militia group, this is something that you can get that's still legal now that can simulate full auto fire to lay down suppressive fire. This will work, in my opinion, for that very small, very narrow uh, case. And again, it's to lay down suppressive fire from a person who has a dedicated gun and a dedicated training to run it to make sure that FRT works every time. That's just my opinion. Yeah, maybe if I squint my eyes really hard, I can come up with a reason to use this if I use all the imagination. Outside of that, range shooting. You don't need full auto, in my opinion, for home defense because one, usually if you fight back, what that first shot turns everybody into a sprinter. Everybody who don't belong in your house wants to get out of your house and far away from you. The second thing is getting good with your rifle. I mean, the splits between first and second shot with a rifle is what 0.15, zero point 0.2 if you're slow. So we're talking quarter of a second if you're really slow. It's not that hard. I mean, there's enough people out here who've actually shot competition with a timer, and those splits. Wow, that was crazy. Those splits aren't that much. And his example was two people in your hallway coming for you, and both of them are armed. You have to put shots on target. All right, cool. In less than a second, I can get four shots off at two targets in a hallway.
Yeah, I'm not even with the idea that, I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like, there are some strategies where you have cover fire, right? You have somebody who's laying
Hmm.
bursts or streams of fire so that other people can, I don't know, run around or do something or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I don't.
people's heads down or whatever. Like, I guess that's true. Like, for actual, when you're like looking at all the different troop movements. But here's the thing: for that scenario, for any scenario where it's an individual or even a group, no one has enough ammo to do that ever. So
Hmm.
there's no excuse for that ever. In putting it into your training is non is a non-starter. Like, I wouldn't, you would never put that into your training to like, oh, I'm going to just lay down a belt at somebody. Nope, not even as a last resort. It should always be you're trying to use every bullet wisely, right? And then um, to put something into your actual inventory with just that sole purpose, no way. But I'm not against full auto. Like, full auto is awesome for, like
Yeah.
you said, recreational, just playing around or whatever. And there's probably some actual use for it. I'm just saying I don't think it has anything to do with your militia even stuff like home defense. Yeah, I don't know, maybe, but for militia stuff, like, nah, we don't have
Okay.
the word, like, the luxury of having armories and factories full of making ammo for us, and trucks and whole infrastructures bringing that ammo to us wherever we happen to be. Like, that's all fantasy land. That's people that are, like you say, not thinking, not asking a second
Hmm.
question, like, where'd the ammo come from, who bought it, and where's it getting replaced by, and when and where is it getting replaced? Like, no, no full auto.
Uh-huh.
Ability to
Yep.
go
It
full
was
auto,
just
awesome. Full auto, no.
exactly. And this was, I think it was one manufacturer that was selling something, and they hit up a bunch of the high speed, low drag YouTubers that you send them this thing and they use it, come up with a scenario where they need it. And I just looked at it going, no, but whatever. I mean, again, if you want it, get it. But you need to really ask questions. If you're just getting it as a toy, cool. I ain't mad at you. But if you really think you're going to deploy this, again, where's the ammo coming from? Where's this ammo coming from? Because it's a thing called logistics. And that really is what wins wars. Its ability to be able to keep beans, bullets, and band aids where they need to be. But as far as this home defense thing, I'm like, yo, bro, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense on a couple of things. Again, I think he said five different times that it's finicky and you got to work with it. It's an 11-minute video. That means literally every 2 minutes you told people this thing was not dependable. Second thing, it's almost $400 for it, or maybe a little bit more than $400 for that one
Wow.
trigger.
Yeah. Is this for
Yeah,
pistols or is this just for ARs?
just for ARs.
So
It's just
automatically,
for
it's
ARs.
assuming you're going to be home defending with an AR, and now an AR with a
Yeah, yeah.
$400 trigger. Yeah.
Well, again, one of his other videos is ARs for home defense, which he puts out there.
I'm okay with
And
ARs for home defense. I'm okay
yeah,
with
me
that.
too.
But at the
uh,
same time, I'm not 100% okay with everything ever, always.
but ARs are fine for home defense. Again, and I'm listening to this guy, and I'm like, this is why he doesn't have any comments out there. Because as an instructor, and again, I was a defensive firearms instructor before I got completely into advocacy, because I think it's a better use of my time. But I still am a defensive instructor at heart, and when I give advice, I base it on that. You have to win the fight first. James Yeager always said that. But the second thing is the legal battle. If you're firing something that simulates full auto fire, and they will know by the amount of rounds that are in your hallway, if you have 20 empty cases in your hallway from your self defense, they kind of might pick up on what happened. Even crazier, if you're on the phone with the 911 as you let rip, that's going to be something else. Now you have to deal with the aftermath of that and the political aftermath of that. And why did you use that thing that was, the ATF tried to ban? You're already starting out in the hole. What's that if you have a prosecutor that goes against you? Also, all of those rounds hit your target, or did some of them go unimpeded through the neighborhood? Because they didn't hit anything. Like, what was your backstop for this burst of fire that you put out there? That again, four trigger pulls, four aimed trigger pulls would have put you in the same position because not many people are walking off with center hits from 5.56, especially multiple. So the lawsuit that could result from it could break you. And again, you're using a $400 trigger to give you something that you have to actually work at using correctly. And now you have to have done it enough that you can do it under a stressor that was unexpected. It's not as if you went, tonight's going to be the night, place is going to get broken into, and you're wide awake, well rested, and you're just sitting there like you're waiting for the beat in a competition. It's not what you're going to be doing. It's not where you're going to be at mentally. I just find it a lot of work when the amount of money and time you spent perfecting that, you could have been, using a regular trigger and working your range shot. And maybe, shooting a competition or two where you do operate under a stressor with a beeper, what I mean, with the ability to, with a timer, excuse me, not a beeper, with a timer that creates stress, or even take that $400 and put it on a force on force training class and learn about that too, and learn how you would react to shoot targets, multiple targets quickly, and be on the receiving end of fire too, because you might not win. That's a significant amount of money, in my opinion, on a pretty much a one trick pony.
Dude, even if you bought that thing and put it in, now you're going to have to figure it out. Like, it's not just an easy thing. Like you said, the guy said in his video every other minute or something that it was so finicky or whatever. Like, you have to learn it. All of those, even the bump stock, like, you just to bump fire. Like, you don't need anything. You can just bump fire. You just have to figure it out. It took me about 1,000
Hmm.
rounds, I'd say, if I remember right. I learned about it. A friend showed me how to bump fire one time. And back in the old days, people would bump fire from their belt loop, and I thought that was lame.
Yep.
So my friend did also, and he just bump fired, and you can just bump fire from your shoulder if you just think about it and do it. So anyway, he did it a couple of times in front of me. Once you see somebody do something, you know it's possible, right? So I was like, oh, okay, and I couldn't figure it out that first time we went out. And he showed me, but I seen him do it a bunch of times, so I knew it was possible. So I just, and back then 1,000 rounds of ammo, $79. So I went up to Phoenix or I went to a gun show or whatever, got 1,000 rounds specifically for that, and then beat the crap out of an AK learning how to bump fire. And I mean, it maybe didn't take me all that time, but after I figured it out, I sat around shooting the whole 1,000 rounds up because I dedicated it just to that. And so anyway, anybody that wants to can spend some time and some ammo doing it with whatever semi-auto. It'll work with anything really. You can do it with a 1911. There's a couple of movies where they do that. Um, but that's the other side of it, is that it costs you some amount of time to figure that out. But the ammo, like whatever that time is you loading mags and figuring it out. And unless you're Richie Rich or something, nobody's sitting around loading mags for you and for free, right? So you're figuring out a lot of loaded mags to do that, and then you're paying for all that. So and you got to be able to do that somewhere. Like, you ain't doing that at a range. No range is going to let you bump fire. So, um, but even those other kind of triggers, you can't use those at a range, right? So they let you use those at indoor ranges.
Oh, well, there, yeah. I mean, that range allowed us to use the rare breed trigger at the indoor range.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I think it helped that we had a relationship and they know our guys that were using it. There was somebody in the port with everyone that used it, so no one was running it by themselves.
But I'm thinking baffle strikes mainly, like just hitting all the roof and different walls and stuff instead of the
Oh
targets
yeah.
that shoot all over. But as far as getting used to it, does it take a box or two of ammo before you get it like figured out to where you're shooting it every time you want to?
Oh
Or
yeah.
is
For me, it took a couple magazines because I had to figure out how not to hold that trigger back. Because I usually when I'm shooting ARs, not in a class, what I'm doing is I fire precision to have fun, and I hold my trigger back, pow, and check my shot. And I just had to get out of that mindset when I ran it and like, all right, loosey goosey with the trigger because your finger actually has to come back and reset. But I mean,
that's
it
interesting.
took a
I
little
never
bit,
thought about
and
that. Does anyone teach what to do after your trigger pull? So almost everybody has an opinion about trigger pull, either the type of trigger where you're going to put your finger on the trigger, press and pull, and all that,
hmm
taking a breath or not, and all that. And then I always remember follow through, like what you're saying, pull the trigger, hold it back. And I mean, it's not like you're pulling it back. It's not like you're trying to push it into your shoulder because that would mess with the gun.
yeah,
But you're holding the trigger back and then releasing your breath or whatever, and then maybe going on to the next
yep,
round, especially when you're slow firing. But that
hmm
doesn't make any sense if you're getting ready to have to shoot 2 rounds or double tap. Like I never thought about all the classes I've been to. I don't think anybody's ever talked about what to do after your trigger pull. Is that a new thing? Has anybody talked about that, or is that just still a like I'll figure it
uh,
out?
no, I mean outside of follow through, nobody talks about because again, I started out shooting on the team, on the 10-meter team. So that's how I shoot when I'm shooting precision. But when I'm in a rifle class or running it that way, it's like, yeah, how, let's trigger go. I don't shoot the reset. I pull the trigger, I let the trigger go, I pull the trigger. I'm not one of those dudes because I shoot different guns. And resets are in different places and different firearms. And I think it's one of the most useful things you can do if I'm working on the skill set, it's not going to be to find out where reset is so I can get that follow up shot point zero something quicker than letting the trigger go and hitting the trigger again. It's not like I take my finger out, of the trigger guard after I pull the trigger the first time. It's just like to the extent, pull it back and try not to disturb the sights. That's what I do. So no, I don't think so because I go to about two classes a year, maybe three, and I don't think anybody discusses that.
But as far as reset, I remember whenever I can remember. I don't remember. I'd have to think about it to remember which class it was. But at some point, I learned about reset on the Glock, and man, I was all about reset for a while. Like I started shooting really fast and stuff, and it
Mhm.
was neat. But then after a while, you figure out that not all guns are the same, and you get all into the way your gun works. I happen to carry Glocks or whatever, but you get all into how your gun works. Then you're useless when you pick up somebody else's gun, and that's where I was picking up too many other guns, just shooting them here and there, and not waiting for that, like you say, looking for that reset that ain't there. And I started figuring out like the reset's fun and everything, but it's only on some guns. Is it only on striker fires or is it on some double actions too? But anyway, it's only there on
Well,
some guns.
yeah, I mean, some guns don't have it. Like, I mean, obviously, a revolver doesn't have a reset. Some double actions don't. Double action, single actions don't. And I'm like, why am I trying to find this little magic spot to make the second trigger full? Again, I'm putting myself in a position to know this one gun and to shoot this gun well. And then when I pick up the next one, I got to find that one too. Or how's this? Do like Rob Latham, a dude with multiple championships, and pull the trigger, let the trigger go, pull the trigger again. Less things to learn.
Yep.
Just be good at pulling the trigger without disturbing the front sight on anything you pick up. Ta-da!
I'd be
Keep it
curious to
simple,
hear
stupid.
some of the opinions because old people are probably not trying to sell nothing anymore, unless they're working for the company or somehow involved, right? Like they're probably not all that worried about selling it to you. I'd be curious to hear how they, their opinions. Now they just might be all old and crotchety, not like anything new, then maybe their opinion's only worth less. But if they were willing to give you like an honest opinion of these different triggers.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want honest opinion. They want to feel good about the thing they bought or the thing their favorite talking head said. Remember, the industry lost its mind when fudge, what's his name? The sets around with the guy from Wilson Combat, Hackworth,
Oh yeah, Ken
Hackathorn.
Hackathorn said that he didn't like red
Yeah,
dots.
yeah. He's like, I have red dots. I shot red dots, but I'm still not sure red dots are not more than a fad. Oh my God! Oh, just shut up. You people have bought into marketing to the most part that you've made your small concealed carry gun bulky as hell. It's like, how on one plane do you say that most civilian self defense is 3 shots at 3 yards, and then say your gun has to be as small as possible, and then say you have to have a flashlight and a red dot on your small concealed? How big are you making this thing at this point? And what scenario are you fighting for? And now do what you want, but understand there's good and bad, there's plus pros and cons. Do you? But Ken Hackathorn has more time behind the trigger than many of the people that listen to podcasts have been alive. And he's not basing his stuff on selling anything. He's basing it on his professional opinion as a trainer for 4 or 5 decades. To be blown off by somebody who has a just history of really liking Garand, it's like, okay, bro, your opinion is not worth the same. It doesn't carry the same weight. How's that? Your opinion doesn't carry the same weight as a trainer that's trained people all over the place. And he could be wrong. It could be the next greatest thing, and there's red dots on stuff from now on. But to act like he's just out of it, I don't think it's fair because he has good points.
So, kind of going back to the whole idea of this guy's video or whatever. Like I say, I didn't even see it. I don't know the guy. I don't think I know the guy, but I probably don't know the
Hmm.
guy. And you said it wasn't like a farce or it wasn't like ironic or any joking around or anything. So, people are allowed to say whatever they want, and I guess people are allowed to teach
Yeah.
whatever they want. Like we don't have some kind of learning Nazis out there that tell everybody what they have to learn. But I think there are best practices. There's like learned, there's accepted best practices. I don't know if best is the right word, but but there's accepted practices and there's traditional stuff, like the 4 rules of gun safety. That's from
Mhm.
uh, what's his face from Cooper back in the day, and it
Yep.
very rarely gets edited. It goes down to 3. It goes up to 5 sometimes, but most people kind of just stick with that. And I think that's like a mix of tradition and lazy. And it's pretty smart. Like there's probably a better way to do it, but maybe 3 is a better way to do it. For example, just so it's easier to remember 3 things. But here or there, all I'm getting at is that even if it's bad advice or advice that I wouldn't give, I'm still going to say that guy's got the right to say whatever he wants. And if
Hmm.
people want to learn from that, go for it. I'm not going to advocate for it, but I don't want to crap on it too much or tell somebody they can't do what they want to do because for all kinds of reasons, right? But
Hmm.
that being said, and there's other things. This isn't the only thing. Like this is new to me. I haven't heard of this one before, but I've heard of like shooting from the hip, or like not using your sights at all and just I forget what that's
Hmm.
called. And there's people
Point
that
shoot.
live by that, right? Like they'll live and die by that. And there's people that can do it, so it's hard to say that it can't be done. And there's definitely throughout history been people that have lived and died through that too. So it's like you can't say that it's not a thing just because most people don't practice it or do it whatever, right? And that's actually a guy in Arizona that I think that started all that. But that's just another example I can think of. But there's others like the 9mm. A lot of people advocate for that. It's reckless caliber, but whatever. People do whatever they want. But do you think that that's? I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think this guy is? I'm going to do something that's I'm trying to prove something, or is it like I'm an inexperienced person, or is it like maybe like my sergeant told me this, therefore it's always right, or I mean, is it? Do you think there's
I'm
some of that
listening to what he
happening?
said. I'm listening to what he said, and it seems like he came up with this himself. and he doesn't want to hear from anyone else or what anyone has to say. And I'm like, as a trainer, I'm trying to take in new information all the time. Now, my problem with it, again, say what you want, bro. All right, say what you want. But when we break this down, when you've said it's not dependable every 2 minutes, you want to introduce simplicity into your self-defense firearms. Simplicity and as simple as possible and stuff with the best reputation as possible of working dependability. That's the word I was looking for. Simplicity and dependability. And if it's not simple but it's dependable, great. But what I don't want to add is something that is not dependable and going in knowing that I have to work at it to make sure I get this right is crazy. And again, for the purpose of home defense, I don't have to lay down in the space of fire. I can use aim fire. I'm not at that much of a disadvantage with aim fire. If I'm bringing a rifle in my home environment into this fight, I have a lot of advantages. One, they don't hopefully know I'm there, or at least don't know exactly where I am, and I get to ambush them. So cool. Aim fire on these jerk offs in my home at close distances where I don't have to do a mag dump into them because I'm using a rifle at inside the house or what they used to call pistol distances. I don't have to mag dump. I'm putting them down. And if it's more than one, I really have to get rounds on both of them quickly, aimed, accurate rounds. Doing the mag dump with simulated full auto fire is a lot of work for very little. What was it? The squeeze ain't worth. What is it? I forgot the saying.
I
Anyway,
can't get to my
uh,
mic. The juice ain't worth the squeeze.
yeah, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Again, we're talking almost over a $400 price tag for just the trigger. Not to mention the amount of range time and ammo you spend getting good with it. Wow.
Well, you kind of touch on it there, but I was going to say that, or I don't know, say or ask, or just going to get a statement, but we don't know what the circumstances might be. Like, there's the average home invasion, there's the robbery or burglary, but just for just to put big picture on it or whatever, you don't know if you're going to be in your house and somebody comes into your house at you, right? Like you're occupying your house and somebody comes in,
Hmm.
or the other way around. You come home and somebody's there and you startle them, and now you're the one who's outside coming in, right? And just that
Hmm.
basic thing right there, you can't determine that. Like you can't determine anything about it other than something might happen, and it could be all these different scenarios. So what can you do? And I guess all I'm saying is that um, trying to game it out is to a specific scenario is uh, unwise, I guess, or it's just not smart, right? It's not it's not the tactical way to go, or I think of like
Well,
it's like the not the
it,
chess word.
it's not the best use of your time, assets, and your time and assets because you're trying to what come up with every scenario possible. Well, you're not going to be good at every scenario possible. You're not going to have the money to train for every scenario possible. You won't have the money to buy equipment for every scenario possible.
Or being ready for that extreme scenario is unwise or silly.
Yeah, you're burning up a lot of time. And look, do what you want. Again, I'm going. I don't believe this guy's idea is a good strategy for home defense. I'm not attacking him personally. I'm not saying anything about him except I don't agree with his premise.
That's where I was looking
And
for.
and the, and this is why I don't. All right. I think taking a good force on force class will teach you a lot more about home defense and defending yourself with a firearm than spending the money on the trigger. I think that would be more of an asset to you as a defender instead of buying this one gadget. And like you said, because I didn't even think about that, what if you're not the one that gets to run this thing? What if I'm there, or your wife or spouse or somebody, and you're not there, and you're like, hey, go into the safe and get the AR. Well, they don't know how to run your finicky trigger AR, but they can run a regular AR. It's somebody visiting, somebody who owns ARs, and now they got to figure out your janky home thing. Look, I'm just throwing it out there. He came up with his scenario. I came up with mine. I'm not the owner of the gun, and now I got to figure out how to run it in a self-defense scenario. Now, I've stayed over friends, and many of us have friends that have firearms. And when you stand at the house, somebody runs to the store, or you're on vacation, but he's working, but you're in his house because you got a spare key, or his wife lets you in. How are you going to defend yourself with his AR if you don't know how that weird thing worked that he put together? Thanks for your unicorn gun, douche canoe.
All right. So Edge says the guy sounds like Dana White. I don't know who that is
I, I I don't know what Dana White has to do with anything, but okay.
though. We do got some questions coming in from the uh, actual website. That's what the whole show's about. So let's go over and address those. The first one comes in just the end of these all came in right at the end of last month. Actually, that probably would have
Hmm.
been good for last week if I wouldn't have blown it off. The first one, it's they sent in a picture of a. I could show it on screen, but you're driving, so I'm not going to bother because it's easy enough to say it's a Hogue grip for a Mossberg shotgun. So imagine the uh, pistol grip option for a Maverick shotgun. So a Mossberg or a Maverick 500, or a Mossberg 500 or a Maverick, same gun. It's
Hmm.
their Hogue, and Hogue makes a different rubber than what's the other one? Packmeyer. So the Hogue is a little bit rubberier, a little
Hmm.
bit softer rubber, and it's got the finger grooves, and then it has a metal thing coming out the back part of it, like the um, just where the receiver, where the chain, where the charger would be on an AR, and then at the bottom of the grip, it's got another metal piece. And the question is, what is the metal piece of the hand grip for? So since there's two metal pieces, the first one is to screw it to the gun. It's that just a screw or something. Maybe it's an Allen screw or something. And then the bottom one is probably for a sling. So you might put a one single point sling on a grip or shotgun with a pistol grip, or some other kind of sling.
I'm
To
going to
give
park myself.
Stay to the left of the cones.
All right. Hey, all right, I'm back.
Come around this way.
no worries. So obviously Tony's getting where he's going. So that's what it are. So if the person's listening, it's the either the attachment for the sling at the bottom of the grip, or and you don't need to use that if you're not using a sling or anything, or it's just the nub or the screw or the bolt or something, probably a bolt, where it's screwed onto the shotgun. You're unscrewing the stock and you're screwing this on, so it's just conforming to the interface with the shotgun where the stock would go. You're getting to where you're going. Are you talking? Are you want to bring up where you're going? Sounds pretty cool.
Oh, okay. So I'm at the fundraiser for the Women for Gun Rights. That's happening tonight with CNJFO, Coalition New Jersey Firearms Owners. So we're over here in the mansion in Voorhees, New Jersey. So this they had valet parking. I'm not letting them valet park my vehicle because I'm in it talking to you guys, and I got like another half hour before it even starts. So I'm good. We're
Okay.
here. We can keep yakking now that I'm safely here. Um, yeah. So was there a question in that, or were you just describing the shotgun?
The question was, what was the metal piece? And I was just telling them it's either the part where it attaches to the shotgun or it's the sling attachment, because I didn't. They didn't say which metal piece. There's only two metal pieces on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's see. And then the next one is: should guns be taxes? I guess taxed if they are in fact a right. Interesting question. Should guns be taxed if they are in fact a right?
I mean, like sales tax. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, there's like three taxes I can think of. There's the sales tax, depending on where you're buying it, I guess. Some places don't have
Pittman
sales.
Bowes tax.
Pittman Bowes tax, and then NFA tax. Maybe there's other taxes. Oh, there's probably this at the what's there's another one. There's the Pittman Bowes, the thing where it's $100 every time you assemble a gun.
No, the Pittman Bowes is at 11% on buying a whole gun, and it's also a tax on
So there's a couple other
ammo.
taxes then that they've put
Yeah.
on guns because they're sin tax or because guns are used in the environment or using the resources of the wilderness or whatever. And that was great back
So
before there was bird watching and people using ATVs and bicycling. But I'll tell you what, there's an argument to be made for. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. That bicycles, which are good people pedal, and then ATVs and motorcycles and the four wheelers, those things are tearing the shit out of the deserts and the forests out there, creating roads that have ruts in them that the water erodes the shit out of and destroys wilderness. Well, the wilderness, you can't drive in the wilderness, but it destroys the forests and stuff out there more than any lead from, and well, not just lead, the cases from shotguns, which people leave behind. Brass, brass road, so I'm not too worried about brass. But also the clay pigeons are basically asphalt, and dumbasses go out and shoot the shit out of those, and they just leave big piles
mhm.
of asphalt out there, thinking that nobody gives a shit about big piles of orange and black asphalt in the forest and in the desert. In the desert, those still
Yeah.
last for 25 years. In the forest, I don't know how long it lasts, but unless you're doing it on your own property, that's annoying, and it definitely is a mess and it gets people pissed. But like I say, there's an argument to be made that there's other recreational uses of our shared lands that aren't destroying the shit out of it. But anyway, I'll quit ranting. Should we be
True. I
talking
mean, I look at it this
about
way. When you have specific tax aimed at the firearm itself because it's somehow a sin, or you're trying to just create an obstacle between people and ownership, I think no. I understand how you'll have a sales tax on something you sell, but it shouldn't be a different price. You know what I mean? The sales tax on, if you have sales tax in your state on goods, I understand. Would I be upset if it was an exemption on it? No, because the more less money you have to spend on a firearm, the more it's opened up for ownership. The more someone can afford it. I don't find anything bad about that, and also the ability to sell it. Um, if I can save 10% because I purchased it in this town as opposed to that town, then yeah, I mean, I'm buying a $1,200 AR. If I can save $120 because I bought it in this gun store instead of the one across the bridge in the next county, yeah, all right, cool. I'm more likely to come to this gun store where I can save 120 off the bat.
but should they be taxed? Like I think you were just saying this. Like if there's a sales tax, like that's fine. Like that everybody agreed to the sales tax and whatever. Like that's not unreasonable. But taxes, like you say, that just are there because it's a gun, no, those should be removed. The NFA definitely removed. Um, or FFLs and stuff. I don't see the need for regulating them unless we see the need for regulating hardware stores, which sell a lot more dangerous shit than any gun shop, or
Hmm.
grocery stores, which probably sell some dangerous ass shit, especially if you start getting into like sugar and fats and all that kind of bad decisions that people make, like eating fried foods, which kill way more people than guns, right? So unless we're going to be a nanny state, then no, this old fashioned lame tradition of guns are bad, and if we, you know, make them treat them like other vices like gambling and drugs and tobacco and shit, nah, I'll pass. But what can we do about it? Just sit here and wait for taxes to go away? No. But we can demand that our, I'm going to rant again, we can demand that our organizations that are there for more than just suing people, like rally the troops and do something about shit like this once in a while. Aside from a couple of the organizations will jump on the repeal the NFA. But what are we doing to repeal the NFA? Like, I think we have so much opportunity right now. We were just talking about the triggers, but we also have opportunity with suppressors and with the stocks and with the short shotguns and with the short rifles. Like, literally every
Hmm.
aspect of the NFA has been challenged and has been complied with to the extent that every single, like most laymen, most people who don't know the fine difference between like a lever action pistol and a short barreled lever action rifle, which is hardly any difference. So you can blame them,
Hmm.
but most people are going to go, oh, there's no difference, which means there's no difference, which means that there's no real reason that there should be an NFA. Like, and the only reason we still have it is because the national level organizations haven't decided it's time to do something about it, and they want to push fucking lawsuits. Like, if that's the only thing we can do, we can go to people who are our representatives and have the ability to erase laws and tell them to erase a number of federal level laws that deal with firearms. It's that simple.
Speaking of, something else we could do is we can sue the crap out of them. I don't like that one as an option, but it's one of the ways we fight the laws that are currently on the books. Because I'll go ahead and say it, it's not like the Republican Party has the intestinal fortitude to freaking act, or let's not even act like it's brave. They don't have the will to get rid of the NFA. They don't have the will to get rid of suppressors. I got contacted by NRA ILA in New Jersey a couple of days ago, actually Wednesday, and they asked me to reach out and find out. And please, people, please repeat this. This is what they're looking for in New Jersey. NRA ILA is looking for people who live in New Jersey that own suppressors, which are illegal to possess in the state. So they're storing their suppressor in another state. My email is SimonSaysTraining at yahoo.com or Tony at diversityshoot.com. If you know anybody who falls in this category, hit me up or contact the NRA ILA directly. Darren Cohen is his name, and he's a New Jersey, Pennsylvania regional guy. But you can reach me, I'll give him your information. And when people go, well, if you can't legally own it in the state, how do you have it? I'm like, because you can do like I did, move from out of state to this state and realize I can't bring my thing here and I have to leave it at another home. I have to leave it out of state. That's how you can own it. So you have legal property that you can't bring into the state that passed all the federal background stuff and all the requirements in your state, but somehow you cross an invisible line into this one, and now you can't own your thing because it's too dangerous. Well, they're going to sue over this. They're looking to launch a lawsuit. They need people like you. So that's I want to make sure I get that out before we go any further. I've been trying to say that on every podcast I've been on.
Right on. And I'm not against the lawsuits. I mean, I'm all for them, actually. It's just that I don't want it to stop there, and that's definitely
Hmm.
not going to solve it by itself. I don't think they say they will, but I think that they've got large enough audiences and large enough budgets that they're taking on some other dumbass things that they could easily divert that and do some awareness things, some soapbox stuff. They talk about all the boxes. That soapbox one. We're not doomed to wait for someone who's already got the soapbox to decide to talk about the issues we care about. We've already seen people who care about the issues we talk about get on the soapbox and become large, or have, I guess, acquire large audiences without really altering their messages too much. So there's all kinds of methods of using that soapbox to get the word out. Let's see. So then, this one was from the website. Also, I had it up on the screen here. I probably should have done this with the other ones too. But the question is, I edited it a little bit because I think there was a typo in it. Is requiring a class or psych evaluation or background check for a gun basically charging for a right? Yeah,
Is requiring, yes, yes.
because it's,
Um,
unless that's free, and it's not going to be free unless it's from the state, quote unquote, right? Free, but then it's not free because we're paying taxes for it, and it's probably a bunch of waste behind it. But I think, in additionally, it's it's going above the line because it's suggesting that you need all that stuff just to own one dangerous device. Like, come on, again, where's knives and cars and everything else fall into this?
Up until 1936, right? No, 1968. When was required to have go through an FFL? 68, right?
For
Yeah.
interstate travel on for 68, yeah, that's when they created that part.
So yeah. So it was until 1968. That means all during the Revolutionary War, Civil War, the entirety of the war in the West and the winning of the West, the entirety of prohibition. You could buy a gun and have it sent directly to your freaking house. All right. You could buy a firearm and have it sent directly to your home. So let's not act as if somehow that required a class, a psych eval, or a background check, and it was out of hand and outlandish, and just people were getting massacred all the time because it was not happening. As long as you don't consider, Native Americans, Chinese, and all the other minorities that were killed during these outlandish times, including the war against the Mormons. But let's leave all that out. What I'm just saying, it wasn't just some regular dude that was a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. There weren't tons of those just running around buying guns and shooting places up because it didn't happen. They're trying to convince you because we're now multiple generations deep into requiring a federal firearms license, dealer, fingerprints, background checks. They did all that, and now it's the new standard. It's the new normal, except it's very new compared to the age of this country. And according to Brolin, it pretty much is not the history or the text of the Second Amendment, so it should be illegal.
I agree. Now I'm going to ask you a hypothetical if you got the time. This is going to be potentially a twist, a tangled one. So you take what you just kind of gave me the idea here as you said that. What if we took this kind of concept, this idea that you have to have a class, psychological evaluation, and a background check to be able to either possess or carry a gun? Let's say possess, and you could to make it even more restrictive, right? And now we rewind, but not all the way back to Bruin. Well, I should say New York State Rifle Association, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, an NRA entity versus Bruin the loser, because I hate to call it Bruin.
Mhm. I love
But
it.
anyway, if we talk about this particular heinous bullshit, which I don't think is anywhere right now, honestly, but it's close to being places, and it's not taken out of science fiction. It's pieces that are the worst from a bunch of places, put them all together. But let's say that you took this, and this would be like the wet dream of anti who thinks that just by restricting you'd make the world better. So let's say you rewind just to, I don't really know when the years of the KKK and all that are, but I'm going to say what,
Hmm.
19 whatever, like Red Summer and that, like 1918.
19, 1920, 1921. Yeah.
Okay, so that era, and you put these laws down. I'm going to say these draconian fascist laws. Here's the big question. There's two, I guess. Would this keep all the KKK people from getting guns and therefore all the problems? Or would it keep all the black people from getting guns and resisting it in the times that they were able to?
Yeah,
That's
it would cut down on
both. I
resistance
guess both.
because, yeah, stop it. Yeah, we cut down on the resistance because the people that were doing it were law enforcement also. So they would be exempt from these laws. Um, they would get around these laws and understand
Thumb on the
these
scale
things
type
were
of
never.
shit. Like, oh no, he's
Yeah,
psychological.
yeah,
Okay, he's a cop. He's got to be okay.
yeah. I mean, they do it now. Again, we're sitting in New Jersey right now where they're rejecting black people's carry permit statewide at 10 times the rate they reject whites. And in Ocean County itself, I think, am I in Ocean County right now? They're rejecting it 50 times the rate. So they use the law and then don't apply it whenever they feel like it. Because right now, the attorney general for the state nor the governor will address this. When again, if you own a firearm, you've jumped through the exact same loops hoops, excuse me. You jump through the exact same hoops to get your carry permit. The only difference is to even apply for the carry permit, you had to take the state required and take and pass the state requirements for classes for marksmanship and for understanding of use of deadly force in the state. So if you have a firearms ID card and use your pistol permit, purchase permit to buy a gun, it should automatically qualify you almost. The only thing difference is you have to pass the class. And somehow blacks are still being rejected at 10 times the rate of whites. So, yeah, no matter what laws they put in place, if they want somebody to be able, if they want to stop people from owning the gun, they'll use the law to stop them from owning the firearm. So, yes, if these rules were in place almost exactly 100 years ago, it would have just disarmed more black people and made them more victims to racial violence or what you call it, what it is, terrorism, domestic terrorism.
Right? It would have prevented the victims from pursuing lethal means of defense or resistance and not really put too much of a barrier to the worst of the aggressors or whatever you want to call like bad people. Um, and I guess a couple, and it's not. I mean, that was a theoretical, I guess, or whatever. But there were
Mhm.
some. That's where there were some laws that started back then to do just that. So it's not like it's again. I didn't just pull science fiction there. It was just that particular law pushing it forward. Um, Mike White was saying that the guns were in the Sears catalog. I can remember looking
Yep.
at the old catalogs. We would have the old catalogs in the library at school, and we would, you could go grab them for whenever you'd have, I don't know about you, we'd have to go to the library every once in a while and look at stuff. And I can remember
Yeah.
for a time span, we would grab the old Sears catalogs and guns were in there and other cool shit, like bear traps, like, all the stuff for, what'd you call people?
Yep.
Was not trap.
Uh,
It's a name for people that went out into the woods by themselves.
frontiersmen,
Yeah.
frontiersmen, and mountain men.
Yeah. Like all the stuff that they might need to outfit. It was kind of neat. Not everything, but, it
Yeah.
was cool.
You also had the Montgomery Ward catalog, and there were a lot of brands that were Montgomery. What do you call it? Marlin, or they have the Glenfield. That was their model for Montgomery Ward and Sears. That was like that brand. Like Walmart has its Great Value brand, and these aren't just places that only make stuff for Walmart. It's like they make other brands and they just brand it, and that's Walmart's brand of those products. Same with Marlin. They would make guns that only went to Sears, and I think that was what Glenfield was. Either they only went to Sears or they only went to Montgomery Ward. But it was like the basic version of the Model 60, and it's boom right there. It's the cheap one. Walmart still does it today. They have their own Walmart brand of certain firearms, like the Mossbergs and the Ruger 1022s and things like that. That's how they got it that crazy price.
So Joey is saying, you like guns, name every gun. Am I missing something there?
Yeah, it's a joke. You like black people? Name them.
Oh,
Name every one of them. Say you like black people? Name them. um, actually, that goes to a real conversation that happened in Newark once. When some politician came down just to be there because it was election season. And he was talking about how the new school bill would help. And they were real concerned parents. They're going, no, it's not. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is not going to help us. And he had the audacity to tell a bunch of people in the hood that he cared about their kids more than they did. And the mom turned around and looked at him. You care about my kids more than I do? Well, obviously, with this, I do. He was like, cool. She said, cool. Name them. And he was like, yeah, don't tell me you care about my kids more than me. You don't know my children, you jerk off. She was just like, name them. Name my kids since you care about them more than I do. You should know their names.
can you imagine telling somebody that in public?
Yeah, that's the arrogance of these people. Holy crap.
Not just in public,
So I'm
like
at
probably,
the,
yeah, and it's yeah.
what up, homie? I'm on air with G Webs right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, come on down. You can have a cigar with us down there already.
Okay, cool. All right, G Webs. We'll be
Right up.
wrapping this up. I'll be there in a few. So I'll go ahead and do the usual wrap up. This
Yep.
is actually that was Nick, who is going to be one of my board of directors. I'm finally getting off the pot because if you guys don't know, NRA is going to have a media row, and I've been invited to actually host my podcast from NRA. So I'm going to be on the NRA floor hosting the Second is for Everyone Second is for Everyone podcast, and I'll be making video. Actually, I have a video in the draft right now to actually air first thing tomorrow morning about me being there. Not only am I going to be there, I'm going to be at GunCon. Uh, for the same reason, I actually spread the word about what we're doing and hopefully by then, which is in June, all of my paperwork will be back from the 501c3 and I can actually hopefully get official sponsorship from companies that will benefit from the tax write-off they'll get for supporting the work we do. So that's what I'm doing. Those are goals. I'm going to announce it as soon as I kick it off so I can actually get money in to help fund everything we're going to be doing because we're going to be traveling and people want this all over the country. They want to see diversity shoots, and I'm fine with going there and starting them up and getting them going, and maybe finding people that want to run it in different states. Because what we got to try to figure out is how to do it as have different chapters, but have the same overall overarching goals, which is to introduce all people regardless if we have the same religion, regardless if we even have the same political outlook, as long as we all understand that the natural right of self defense is codified in the Second Amendment, and that should protect us all from pretty much anybody that wants to push their will upon us without our acceptance. That should not be happening. No one should force you to do something and be violent toward you or use the threat of violence on you without your permission. So that's why I fight so hard for this. It's not even that people have to be the same as me, because it's great. Because we had Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and whoever the heck else. Because I really didn't care to ask, because to me it's relevant. But that was just at my last diversity shoot, which was Thursday at Recoil Range in Monroe, New Jersey. I feel great educating people on how to safely use these things and introduce them to them and making them realize it's not something frightening. We had a 13-year-old boy that was a little overwhelmed with the number of firearms we had. And I was like, "You want to stop shooting, bruh?" And he didn't want to say yes. You know what I mean? He didn't want to look like a wuss in front of his brother. So I was like, "Hey, bro, just between you and me, if you're done, we can go outside and hang out, man. Have some more pizza and you drink a soda. Want to come out?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "Come on." And he was like, "All right, cool." I'm like, "Don't feel bad. You shot the guns, right?" He was like, "Yeah." "All right. It became a little too much." He was like, "Yeah, that's fine." He's 13. I was like, "Shoot it, have fun, and you can tell your friends about it. And you had it, you tried it." And he did. And hopefully he'll be back. And if not, hey, he knows now. But yeah, if you want to actually help us, support us, I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow what we do. If you go to diversityshoot.com, you'll see the different ways to donate. We have Venmo, we have what Cash App, PayPal, and I also have a Patreon you can join. So I really appreciate it. You can check me out on Twitter at Second for Everyone. That's using the number Second for Everyone. You can find me on Instagram at SimonSaysTrain. And I'm also on Facebook at Tony Simon or The Second is for Everyone. I'm even there as Simon Says Train. So if you want to follow me, please do. I really appreciate it. And I'm thankful to be able to be on podcasts like this. Oh, yeah. And our new podcast, Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered. That's out. We just did an episode. We hold them out. So we're a week ahead. So we'll be dropping a podcast Tuesday where we have Kevin Dixie on, and the whole point of the show was to be an hour. So if you've ever interviewed Kevin Dixie, you'll understand when we hit the 2 hour mark and had to freaking throw the flag. So that's what's going on, man. It's great, and I appreciate it. Let me get out of here because people keep coming up to my car.
Right
So
on.
thanks a
Jumping in.
lot, GS. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for listening.
See ya.
All right, bye, guys.
Let Tony jump out there. And we'll say thanks again to everybody for joining us. And people on the X are allowed to chat. You saw how many people are over here chatting over on the YouTube. We can bring their stuff up on the screen and be part of the show. Help give direction to the show. It's all about asking gun questions and answering them. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks everybody for supporting Tony's efforts over there in New Jersey. And he doesn't talk about this aspect of it, but he's also supportive of other activists out there, which is crucial. It's necessary. And right now he's gone to the Women for Gun Rights organization's New Jersey get together. And without those organizations getting support and getting awareness, they'd be in better, worse places than they are. Oh, looks like my phone is coming to life. But Tony does a lot of, I don't know what to call that, like intramural activity. Like in addition to his own projects, he's supportive of others, and he's attending a lot of events, not as media necessarily, but as an activist. And we can definitely use a lot more of that. So figuring out what's going on with this thing. I think it's just unhappy about its battery life. We'll say thanks again, and I'll quit being distracted. Nobody's saying anything. This is like an opportunity really for people to say whatever they're going to say.
Captain, a vessel approaching.
On screen.
We're being hailed.
Every weekend over at gearwebsites.com, our online store, we have free Patch Friday. And that means that every order placed on our store on Fridays is going to include at least one free patch. So that's every order with no coupons, no minimum order, no codes needed. You place the order on Friday, and when it arrives to you, it's going to have at least one free patch. Your support means a lot to us, and financial support is critical. So thanks again to the people who keep us online through purchases at gearwebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Oh, well, there's going to be a special bonus at the end here because it looks like Brooke has posted her show already. And that means that I can take this show and edit it. And when I edit it, I can go over to the customization tab, I guess. And then I can click on redirect and paste the URL of Brooke's show. And once that's saved, when I end this, it'll recommend that you head over to Mental Health Matters tonight at 6 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. Eastern. I have night time. Whenever, it'll tell you what time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show.